I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of assignment 3 here, which is kind of about recording. The first part is all about recording. So I want to talk about some recording tips here and how to go about that. We're going to make a brand new Pro Tools session here. I'm just going to go over the settings of what it should be. 48K should be the sample rate. 24-bit should be the bit depth. And usually I use WAV files. I almost never use AAFs anymore, so I would just suggest using WAV files. They're just more universal. And then interleaved. And interleaved means that if you record a stereo file, that it'll be one file. It won't be split left and right mono. So if you don't check that box and you record a stereo track, like drum overheads or something, it will give you a mono left and right. So pretty basic, just making a new session here. We're going to create this. And I'm just going to, I always like to start with like kind of a blank session here, just to get the Pro Tools going. And so here's where track naming becomes really important. So I'm going to make a brand new, some brand new tracks here. I'm going to make 3 mono audio tracks. And if you're oftentimes using one mic, it's mono, right? So no matter what you record, it's one mic, one input. It's not going to be stereo. There's a lot of confusion with that sometimes, but I'm going to make 3 new mono tracks here. And the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label them. So I'm going to record some bass, and it's going to be a DI. It's not going to be actually mic'd. It's going to be the DI input, or high Z, you might see that, bass DI. And I'm using a key command here, another little key command, because I have 3 tracks over there, as you guys saw. And so if I command up, down, or left, right, I can scroll through all my track names. Or if you're on a PC, it's control, left, right, up, down, right? So I did bass DI, boom, that's done. Now I'm going to record guitar, acoustic, and then I guess I will record, I have this little cool drone box here, right? Okay, so I have a drone box. It's a Indian little drone thing here you'll hear in a second. All right, cool. So I label all my tracks. So that's step 1. And also keep in mind, this is good workflow. Like, it highlights all the tracks, so it's kind of annoying. So I usually just option click, and that unhighlights all of them. Because if you wanted to move them around or reorder them, you can't do that when they're all highlighted like that or selected. And a lot of things in Pro Tools are done by selecting track nameplates. All right, cool. So I'm just holding on option there to resize everything. So I have my tracks named here. That's step 1 to recording, right? Okay. Step 2, let's bring the transport up here so we can kind of see what's going on here. I have mine in quick punch mode, but you can just use regular record. It doesn't really matter though. I can take loop off as well. So here's the transport. So the next step to recording is setting the right input. So now I'm in the mix window, and I'm going to make sure that my inputs are correct here. So I have this mic hooked up here that I'm talking and recording the video from, but let's just see if I can get it going in to Pro Tools here. Is it on input 2? Hello, hello. Yes, it is. So the input 2 is selected there. Hello, hello. So if I change the input to input 1, hello, hello, I'm getting a little bit because it's my guitar mic right there that's hooked up to my amp. So it's getting a little bit of signal there, as you can see, bouncing down here. But let's say I go to input 3. Input 3, there's nothing there at all. Nothing's plugged into my little interface there. So that's how my studio's set up. Oftentimes you guys will have an interface, and if you've recorded before, you know what input. Maybe you have 1 input or 2 inputs. I have like 16 inputs here in my studio, if I really want to use them all. So let's back up here as well. Let's talk about different things we can record. If you have a mic, you probably know it's either a dynamic mic, like a SM58 or 57, or it's a condenser mic. And there's so many condenser mics, I won't even try to list them. But if you have a condenser mic, you need fan and power, of course, to get the signal. And I'm assuming you guys know how to do this. If you have a mic, you would take the time to learn how to use it, because otherwise your mic wouldn't work. So you got to set the correct input, as you know there. So I'm on interface. I'm input 2 here, and that's how you record enable it. If I take it off record enable or I arm it, then there's no signal there. So you have to designate by record enabling like that what track you're going to record the audio to, right? So I've labeled all my tracks, and that's really important. Even though it's acoustic guitar right now, if I hit record, so once that's record enabled, the 3 easy steps to record enable track, record enable transport, and click play. And it's not acoustic guitar now, but you can see that I'm recording my voice now. And I have a little virtual console here. Let me bring it into the view. So I'm on input 2 here, I think. So if I crank up the gain here, let's see if I can get the gain going. Hello, hello, hello. Or is it on input 1? No, it's on input 2. Hello, 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 hello. So that should be increasing the gain, but who knows? My video capture software might be influencing things. But my point being here is that the signal that's being recorded is on your audio hardware. So the gain that's coming in then is entirely on your audio hardware, usually your gain pot. That was strange. Why wasn't it? I was at input 2. My gain, for some reason, my gain pot was not working correctly. I'm not exactly sure why. It's probably because I'm using some video capture software while I'm recording this. But usually what should happen, I should turn up the signal so it clips or bring it way, way down. So that signal strength has absolutely nothing to do with this fader here. In fact, I could take the fader completely down, and all this fader here is not signal strength. It's just for mixing, for monitoring stuff, right? It's just for playback. So it has nothing to do with my incoming signal. As you can see, look at my signal still coming in. It's nice and strong. And so this is just the monitoring of that signal. You heard a little doubling there. Does that make sense? So the recorded signal is completely controlled by the gain trim on your interface, such as, let me just show you a little diagram here if I have it. Where is it? Yes, here it is. It's controlled by your interface gain. So here's the M boxes is what we have at school. And so you plug your mic in here, and then here's the gain. It might be called gain or trim, and that would record the signal. Here's the DI. That's where you plug in like a electric bass or guitar. That's a totally different signal, so that would be there. Then there's a front or rear port. So if it takes a signal from here on the back, or that would be the rear, or the front would be this DI. And then these are multi-inputs. So you can put a 1/4 inch input or an XLR input into the same connector. So, and you can have a mic or line level signal. So there's going to be mic level signals. That's a microphone. There's going to be line level signals like a keyboard or a drum machine, things like that. Or there's going to be an instrument. That would be like a electric guitar bass where you plug it straight in. So those are the 3 main signals when we're in a recording signal. So it's really good to know, because you guys might have different types of signal that you're recording, right? You might also have different types of mics. Usually it's going to be a condenser mic, and you just have to know what it is. If you have to know if it's a condenser mic, you have to look up your model online, or if you don't know. And then you have to turn on fan and power, and that fan and power here is usually the 48 volts. Where is that? Where is that? It is right here. 48 Vs. When you click on that, it turns like a little red button on. So if you don't have that mic, it'd be a dynamic mic, and that would be like a SM58. And a ribbon mic doesn't use fan and power. Do not use fan and power. And there's other types of mic like contact mics or PZM mics that some of them are kind of like a condenser mic. Some of them need fan and power. But usually, if you guys are at home, you're probably using a dynamic mic, most likely, maybe even a condenser mic. So, and I'm assuming you guys are smart. So, I mean, that mic would not work unless you knew how to, if it's a condenser or dynamic. And of course, if you buy a mic, you're going to be itching to use it. So this is the first part of the session. What I'm going to do at this point, I'm just going to record acoustic guitar. I'm going to record some bass DI. And then with the bass DI, and I always do this technique here, I highlight the track here. And then I like to do all my routing in the mix window. So I'll go over here and I'll say, okay, where's my bass plugged in? High Z, I either have 2 inputs for high Z on my interface here. So high Z 1 or 2, I have to remember where that is. If I don't have the right input selected here, that's my IO, it means input, then that bass signal will not get there. I won't bore you with hooking that up now. And then my drone box, I'm just going to use a mic. So depending on wherever my mic is plugged in, then I'm going to have to set the gain correctly. Cool, so that's the jump start to record. Some last minute recording, even though nothing's hooked up right now. Let's say I want to record to my bass DI right here. Yeah, it has some strange input on there, it doesn't really matter. I record enable the track and just hit 3 on the number pad is my preferred way to do that, right? You can do command spacebar or control spacebar if you're on a PC. 3 on the number pad, or just hit spacebar to stop. Hit Z to undo that. Or F12 works too. So again, I'll do it on this track now. Select the drone box. You don't have to highlight the track, that has nothing to do with it. So the drone box is record enabled. I'm going to hit 3 and I'm recording. So all you have to do really is set the right input, set the level, record enable the track, and hit 3 and it'll start to record. So that's it. So set some good levels, and just keep in mind in this assignment we're recording like little snippets of sounds. And one last thing, keep it in C major or A minor if you're recording musical material, and keep the default tempo of 120 beats per minute 4/4. And then we'll get to the second part of this, how to edit that, when we're done here.